When you make an addition from the defending national champions, that should grab some attention. We will discuss here at Huskers Live, right here at the Voice of College Football, plus further transfer portal additions and subtractions, guys coming and going. Same old story, just a lot of different faces and names to get familiar with here on Huskers Live. I got Greg Peterson here from Husker Online. Greg, how you doing tonight?
Doing excellent. How about you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I
Hope
am doing
everybody
just
else out
fine.
there is doing the same.
What's that?
I said I hope everybody else out there listening
Yes.
is doing well as also. So, yep.
Folks, you know the deal. Leave your comments and questions there in the live chat, and we will get to them. But we're going to go through the news of the week,
Hope
as we always
Moonbot's
do.
good. What's up, Moonbot?
Moonbot's here. Okay. Well, it's automatically a better show right there. If we've got Moonbot ready to roll. Yo to MJ Sherman. He's a linebacker from Georgia. And my goodness, his recruiting rankings at the time that he entered college football, he was the second rated outside linebacker in the country. He was a top 40 overall player. Really high grades for Sherman. Now, he hasn't been on the field too much. At least, I shouldn't say on the field. He's been on the field for special teams, but not a lot at outside linebacker for Georgia. But he's looking for an opportunity. And, man, if you're going to give an opportunity to somebody that ranked that high coming out of high school, that's not a bad place to go.
Hey, is anybody going to complain if you get a former 5-star in the transfer portal? I don't think so. But no, this guy checks all the boxes. And like you said, he comes in highly touted out of high school with a, an unbelievable ranking. And he goes to a program that has won the last 2 national titles and, has had a hard time, making a huge impact on the field. Like you said, he's been a key special teams player in that role for Georgia. And, but, when you talk about schools like Georgia and Alabama, you're not surprised that guys are getting in the transfer portal because, when you're competing a bit against a bunch of other guys that are ranked just as high as you are, sometimes you don't get an opportunity. And, he saw an opportunity here at Nebraska and he jumped on it. And this is a huge get for Nebraska. It definitely bolsters, their pass rushing capability. And, it's nice. You have a lot of these edge guys right now on your roster that have committed. And, but then that kind of leads into the bigger question mark is about up front. When so that's a different debate on it. You still want to add some of those bigger guys, to help out what you have right now on the defensive line on the front there. But no, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from MJ Sherman. I mean, he's a heck of a player, and I think he's that kind of a guy that's an immediate impact guy. As soon as he, the first day he puts on his helmet for spring practice. So that's a great job by Matt Rhule and his staff.
Absolutely, it is more than worth it to see if you can unlock the potential there of a guy that was ranked that highly. And if Kirby Smart signed him, that's all you need to know as well. So the great recruiting ranking coming out of high school, Kirby Smart saw enough in him that he wanted him. And then when it doesn't work out for somebody, and it didn't necessarily not work out, there's, it wasn't like he did anything wrong. It was, he obviously did all the right things in practice in terms of being, a good teammate and being a good member of the locker room to receive playing time on special teams. But man, you're trying to break in to the starting lineup or the depth chart on the most talented and most productive and best defense in the country for the last 2 to 3 seasons. And there's something to that. So the 33rd ranked player in the country coming out of high school, MJ Shelton, second rated outside linebacker, only picked up 14 tackles, mostly on special teams at Georgia. Greg is doing his best to ditch the show tonight. I don't know. I think
I don't know
he.
what's going on here. I try to touch something, and all of a sudden I get booted off here. I'm not going to touch anything. All right, I'm good.
Whatever you need to do for us to keep you around. So
I can't. I'm not going to read the comments anymore because that's the problem.
Okay, I will be responsible for the comments, and so don't feel out there like Greg's slighting you. He just doesn't want to boot himself from the show again, and we don't want him to.
I hate getting booted from anything.
I was just kind of putting a bow on all of that just to basically say, there are all sorts of reasons why it doesn't work out for a particular player somewhere. Maybe just didn't pick up on the scheme as quickly as other guys did, or it could be all sorts of different things. Maybe he had a nagging injury that didn't allow him to be at his very best. And again, it's Georgia, so it's the toughest lineup to crack on defense in college football for the last 2 to 4 years. So, it's not necessarily anything he did wrong. Just other guys have played out of their minds. So you got that too.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting story, Greg, surrounding this Walter Rouse. So here is a Stanford offensive lineman. We talked about him at length the last couple weeks, 2,500 snaps, 39 starts, honorable mention all Pac-12, a guy that would fortify just about any offensive line in the country. Well, he commits to Nebraska. Now, this is the first one I've seen of this kind. We see this all the time in high school football, of course, but here's somebody that committed out of the transfer portal, announced it, and then they flip a couple of days later, Rouse to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, and I think he's done a good job of explaining his reason for doing that. If you read some of the stories on it and everything, but yeah, I mean, he, last week he'd committed to Nebraska, and he'd been on the record saying that Nebraska checked all three of his boxes for what he wanted coming up here. But he has a lot of ties to Oklahoma, and in the end, he decided that was going to be the better spot for him. And you know what? It's nothing to get upset about. You just move forward, and I don't think anybody here is hurt by his decision. I mean, the young man, you have to give him his due. Let him go where he thinks is going to be the best fit for him, and obviously, I guess that was Oklahoma in the end. So Nebraska loses a guy that you would have thought would come step right in and start on that offensive line, but you know what? It's okay.
It is okay, and everybody should respect his decision. And you just kind of hate to see it from the standpoint that the fans are invested and the fans are emotionally invested. And when they see a nice addition for the football team, then they get behind that guy. And then 2 or 3 days later, he changes his mind and goes somewhere else. So,
you know what, too, that when you even talk about that, and we don't know, but there's NIL that you have to think about too. Did he get a better offer for NIL money in Oklahoma than Nebraska? I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know that. I'm not trying to, stoke any fires here, but you got to factor that into it as well.
You can, exactly. I made the same statement, posted a video about the flip at that time, and I made the same comment. Not reporting this. I don't know this. It's a possibility.
There's so many more opportunities for these athletes nowadays than there were, than just deciding what school you want to go to and, what the best path is you to get to the NFL, by the coaches that you're going to be playing under and so forth and so on. But NIL has come into the factor here on a lot of these, when you see somebody commit and decommit like that, there's got to be something else kind of going on. in my mind. But I'm not saying it is, but I'm just putting it out there.
Do you know offhand when school started, or has it started
No,
yet?
it starts on the 20th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw out a hypothetical situation. There's a football player by the name of, I don't know, Walter Rouse, or, whatever. And so anyway, just there's obviously a point in which once you make that commitment, if you've signed a scholarship, you've enrolled in class, then there's no going back, at least for that football season.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, this was totally school hasn't started yet. You haven't enrolled officially. And, so all you've done is actually just commit, and you didn't sign anything. So, yeah, it's totally up to the player, and every player's got a different agenda, and who knows what happened. But heck, you can't be hurt by it. You just got to move forward. And I'm confident that Nebraska will keep adding to that offensive line. Obviously, it's a huge priority. So, as is the defensive line.
Yourself would like to see Coach Matt Rhule on the show, so Greg's going to get right on that.
Yeah, well, okay.
Are you guys on a first name basis yet?
I don't think he even knows who I am. Seriously.
Okay, well, he will.
I've not asked him a direct question and not identified myself, because that's kind of the general rule now. Oh, pardon the pun, but the general rule here in the media with all the new coaches and stuff, that if you ask them a question, you have to identify yourself. Where coaches that have been here, that they know you don't need to do that. So, but I have not had a question to ask, because you know what? I let the print guys do all that. And then if there's any time to kill, then maybe I will ask a question. But it hasn't got down to that point, because our beloved SID, Keith Mann, has kind of kept all this stuff short, a little shorter than in the past. And it kind of keeps a timer on all these interviews.
When did you go to Nashville? What years were you in Nashville?
Myself?
Yes.
2004 to 2011?
So other than those 7 years, you've been covering the Huskers, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So did Scott Frost knew you by name, correct?
Yes.
Mike Riley?
Yes.
Bo Pelini?
Yes.
Okay. Frank Solich?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Callahan? All those guys? So,
Bill Callahan was,
hey.
yes. I mean, I wasn't here when Bill Callahan was here.
Okay.
But I did come and cover. I came from Nashville. I flew down here to cover a quarterback camp that Bill Callahan put on, where Blaine Gabbert was there and had committed to Nebraska at the time. And that was the only time I've ever met Coach Callahan. But he was one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Maybe Mike Riley tops that. But Bill Callahan was very happy to have me here. My boss, Sean Callahan, had introduced me, and Coach Callahan, we were standing there during camp while things are going on, and he basically got my whole life story from me, and couldn't have been a nicer guy. Now, if you ask him today if he knows my name, probably not. But it is a one-time meeting with Coach Callahan. But all the other ones, yes, they probably didn't like me being around as much as I always am. But that's not my choice.
So my point is that it's only a matter of time before Matt Rhule's going to know your name.
Oh, yeah. Okay. As soon as I talk to him one-on-one, there haven't been very many opportunities, with them coming in and recruiting so hard. And, he's only been available a couple of times. And, I mean, there will be a time here when we get our chance to, do a one-on-one with him without anybody else around. And then, that's when that kind of relationship starts to develop.
Yourself, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make the attempt. I'm going to contact the Nebraska SID, and I will make that attempt. It's a long shot. If you understand the setup of big time college football, you understand it's a long shot, but it's worth it. We had Sonny Dykes on a few times, so it can happen.
You know what? There's a lot of coaches that love to do this kind of stuff. They just eat it up. And you know, they might be current coaches or they might be retired, but you know,
and
I've never met a coach that does not like to talk about football at any time of the day.
And if we can't get Matt Rhule, then we'll drop down to the coordinators and we'll find somebody, hopefully. All right, folks, appreciate you being here. So we've talked up, of course, NBA Shelton, the outside linebacker, transfers in from Georgia, and also, again, Walter Rouse moving on to Oklahoma. Place kicker Chase Contreras made a couple field goals a couple seasons ago. Has not been the starter, but he's entered the transfer portal.
I think that's a direct, example of Kate or of Tristan Alvano being, the true freshman that just was offered a scholarship, and that's a guy that I expect to take over the starting kicker job right away. No ifs, ands, or buts. So that's in my mind. That explains that. Period.
I believe, don't hold me to this, that the end of the transfer portal is Wednesday.
Yeah, it's coming up here.
The 18th. Yeah,
yep.
We're a day away.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean
we can put all this to rest. That you have these guys here now, through spring until the portal opens back up.
So that doesn't mean that everybody that's in the portal has to have landed somewhere. It just means that you have to be in the portal.
Right. Yeah. Right. This is, basically this is the time that the NCAA or whoever's you can call as the governing body is, they want, this is academic time, go to class, figure it out. And then, when spring ball starts here in a couple of months, then you can start, getting into your daily routine with academics and athletics. And plus, you got to give coaches a chance to chill out a little bit. They had the dead period just is ending as well, and so now coaches are all out on the road again traveling. So, I don't know. The whole thing is just so bizarre how it all works out anyway, and obviously there's going to be a bunch of different tweaks made to this system and down the road, and we'll kind of see how it all happens, but. Like we said many times, it's just a wild, wild west shootout, basically, with this transfer portal and money you can throw at kids now with NIL and everything. So it's a never-ending cycle the way it is.
Is offensive line your number one area of need before spring training?
You know what? Offensive line is definitely a big area of need, but I think the defensive line is even a bigger need right now. You just need to add some more bodies. I think you can get away with what you have on the offensive line and some of the additions you've had, but they're not going to stop. This coaching staff has already hammered out how important the run game is, and they're never going to stop recruiting the offensive line. So, yeah, that kind of contradicts what I just said. So, yeah, I will change my opinion and say, yes, the offensive line is is the biggest need and priority that you got to keep going after.
All right, folks, appreciate you being here. Leave those comments and questions in the live chat, and we will get right to them. We've run down all the recent.
So there's no questions about the wide receiver spot, huh? About our additions?
Yes.
You
So
know what I'm talking about, do you, Mark?
no, I don't. As soon as you
Well, okay.
give me the name,
Well,
we talked about Billy Kemp last week.
right. But no, this was just here. Okay. You remember a guy by the name of Isaiah Garcia Castaneda who went into the transfer portal?
Oh yeah, he caught a touchdown. Well, not a touchdown, but he had a couple big catches against Northwestern to start the season.
Yeah, and he pulled out of the transfer portal, so he is still a Husker.
Okay.
Do you happen to remember a name of a guy named Xavier Betts?
Well, yes, we didn't talk about okay, we didn't talk about him last week. Okay. I
He,
actually produced a video about Xavier Betts, so he's coming back.
well, he has also, yes, now rejoined the team. I don't think they've made it totally official yet, but he attended a team meeting here. I think on Sunday, Matt Rhule had him come in, and obviously that was just to get his teammates' thoughts on him rejoining the team, because as you recall when we talked about when he left, that his teammates pretty much said they didn't want him back. But he has found another avenue to get back here. I guess he's checked all the boxes, and he is now going to be back here, which makes all of a sudden this wide receiver room on this roster one of the better rooms on the offense right now. So yeah, that's kind of big time news, because we were talking about, we had an event on Sunday morning. The Warren Academy showcase went on with Steve Warren, the former Nebraska defensive lineman and Green Bay Packer that runs the Warren Academy in Omaha now. So he had his showcase event on Sunday, and basically, I think while we were still doing the camp, it was pretty much made official that Xavier Betts was coming back.
Xavier Betts, of course, didn't play with Nebraska or anyone in 2022. Season before, 20 catches, 286 yards, about 15 yards per catch, and had 12 catches his first year as a freshman in 2020.
Also had some good yardage on runs too, and a touchdown.
Absolutely. All right, so two old names are back.
Both guys that can run. What does Matt Rhule preach? He wants guys that are fast. And so you bring back Xavier Betts, and you got incoming Malachi Coleman. You got a lot of things going on in this wide receiver room now. To go along with what you already have with like a Marcus Washington, and obviously now Isaiah Garcia Castaneda coming back, and Avante Brown still there, and it's gonna be kind of cool to see here when spring ball starts up and see that speed. Plus like we talked about last week, Billy Kemp coming in, and you got a lot of guys, a lot of new faces that are going to be there. Some familiar old faces that weren't there, and going to be interesting, very interesting here when spring ball starts.
As you mentioned, that team meeting that Xavier Betts attended, and then never mind me is making a comment about is the team going to accept Betts? Heard they weren't happy with him last year, and Greg went through that.
They weren't, not at all.
But some people are able to change their minds and be open-minded and say, okay, well, he admits to making mistakes, and we now are willing to turn the page and hope that things are different this time. And I got to think the leash isn't exactly that long, maybe, in regards to, what he's going to be allowed to get away with going forward. So he's going to have to show that he's willing to work and be on time and do all those things.
Okay, so I've known this young man for a long time, right? And we're talking about a former top 100 player in the country coming out of high school. And the one thing that he doesn't respond to is the tough love. And when he was at Nebraska and Mickey Joseph came in, What do you think he was getting? It was the tough love, and he didn't respond well to it. So he's had a little bit of time now to mature, and now he comes back into basically he's meeting new coaches that have a different coaching style. So we'll see. Is there going to be a drastic change, or is it going to be more of the same? I like to be optimistic about that and think that it's going to be a very positive change for him, and that he can regain being a part of the team and being a contributor as he was starting to do until things kind of went the way they did, and he left the program before last season started.
What's interesting when you mention it that way is that he didn't play last year. So the last football he played at Nebraska was in 21. Now he's going to play in 23. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but in college football, especially these days, more than half the roster is probably going to be different. He's going to play with a lot of guys that he knows and is familiar with, but he's going to play with a lot of other guys that
never met. Yeah.
He never met. And like you mentioned, the whole coaching staff, almost the entire coaching staff, different.
To him, the whole coaching staff is different.
Yeah. So, it's familiar in certain ways, same buildings, same people, in offices and on campus and that sort of thing. But other than that, it's almost a completely different team.
Well, the one factor, though, that you can't deny also is that ever since he knew what football was, he wanted to play at Nebraska. That's never changed. So, he's got 2 chances to do that now. Which, how many high school players out there that dream of that have never even gotten that opportunity? I'm one of them. So yeah.
So we see where I saw this earlier in the college football news of the day, where old buddy Tristan Gebbia
who
went to Oregon State after.
He couldn't stay healthy, though. He couldn't stay healthy at Oregon State.
He's now going to Ohio State. Now, is he going to be the starter at Ohio State? No.
Ohio State. It's Ohio U, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, it's not Ohio State.
Well, I saw this multiple places. It's not Ohio State, huh? When I saw that, I didn't think he was going to be like a starting quarterback at Ohio State, but I just figured he'd be a backup.
Oh, he is a backup.
No, it's Ohio State.
Well, that's mind-boggling to me. I thought I heard something, like a week ago he was going somewhere else.
Yeah. I'm looking at 5 different reports.
Okay.
Oregon Live, The Spun, all sorts of different outlets that Ohio State. Now he's not going to be a starting quarterback there.
Never sniffed the field there.
Yeah, so I don't know what he's looking for there, but
you couldn't make it at Nebraska, you couldn't make it at Oregon State. What makes you think you're going to go to Ohio State? I will say, though, that Ohio State was a team that was recruiting him when he was coming out of high school there, in Calabasas. And, he kind of was with that whole Calabasas movement that came to Nebraska. What they called all the Calabraska. They made T-shirts and all that. And, not a one of them ever panned out. But, his dad's very well-to-do. I'll just put that out there. And his dad kind of calls shots on that. And I don't know. I think there's some – if he's actually going to Ohio State, there's got to be a little bit of money being exchanged there somewhere. Somebody's greasing somebody's palm. But he'll never, ever play a snap at Ohio State. I guarantee you that. He's just not – I'm sorry, he's not that good. He's very fragile. He's a stick. I mean,
if he's looking to be a coach someday, maybe he's looking to make connections.
That could be possible right there. Yeah. That makes more sense than anything that I've heard. Yeah. He's a great kid. It sounds like I'm bashing him. I'm trying not to. I don't want to be sounding like that because I know him personally, and he's a great guy. But he's just not a very good football player.
No.
At the quarterback spot. Or I don't even know where he could fit in, seriously.
All right, folks, appreciate you being here. Again, we do this Nebraska show each and every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. So make it here on time. We would ask that you do that. Or, we usually have the most people on here when we wrap up the show. So you can always watch what you missed and make it on back here again Tuesdays at 7 Eastern and share the videos out there on social media. We've got the obligatory comments about Dylan Raiola.
Put on me here now by the Gebbias tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're just telling it like it is. That is, that's just the truth. That's just the obvious. I raised my eyebrow when I saw that too, thinking, okay, he's not going to play there. So what's his angle?
Uh-oh. I'm sorry I cut you off from your train of thought there.
No, you're good. You are good. All right, folks. We have covered all of the news of the week.
Oh, also, coaches are also out there on the recruiting trail big time. Like I mentioned a little bit ago that, we had the Warren Academy showcase. So we did get a chance to catch up with some of those kids out there, in this recruiting cycle that have Husker offers. Like a Tyson Terry, linebacker, edge guy at Omaha North, and Daniel Kalen, quarterback out of Bellevue West, and Caden Vermoss, who's a 2025. I'll call him an athlete because he kind of plays every position. But, the Nebraska coaching staff have been out hard and heavy visiting those guys. And, trying to get them, at one point, you probably would have figured they're all going to be committing to Nebraska. And with the coaching change, these guys got to come in and kind of start the recruiting process over with these guys. But, all three of them, Nebraska was the first team to offer all three of them. And that's a big deal, too, for an in-state kid. So, yeah. Tony White, both of the guys, Tyson Terry, he's a stud. He's a heavyweight wrestler, too, and he's about to win his third state heavyweight wrestling title, and he's going to go for a fourth next year, and that's a big goal of his. And so, those kind of guys always turn out to be really good football players. And so, Tony White made a priority to go see Tyson Terry and as well as Caden Vermoss, like I said, because this kid's a special talent that, especially I think on the defense side of the ball. I was at one of his games, and this kid was a sophomore, and I was at his game, and he had back-to-back punt returns for touchdowns on 2 consecutive punts. Ran in a couple of touchdowns from the running back position and had 2 interceptions in the game playing free safety. So, this kid can do it all. And, I like to see that they're making a priority of this. And then, like I said, Daniel Kalen, a quarterback that, we've talked about many times that, got a Florida State offer way back when he was I think he was a freshman, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got a ton of Power 5 offers as well. And, I think with the quarterback position, though, it's kind of hard to say. You got to kind of see how things shake out because that's a pretty loaded room right now. But and also the Dylan Rhule factors into that big time. Also, since we all know that Nebraska's putting out all their guns to get Dylan Rhule in this recruiting cycle, and Daniel Kalen would love to be a Husker, but there's only going to be room for one. And obviously, if you're the number one prospect in the whole country at that position, a guy like Daniel Kalen is going to be left out, unfortunately.
Folks, if you own a business or you know someone who owns a business who may benefit from sponsoring here at the Voice of College Football, GBR, please hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, and we will find the right fit for you in regards to highlighting your business or organization. So again, hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail to sponsor the channel.
And also they've kind of had a cycle here with us for the last 2 weeks. They've had a couple of the new coaches available for us on Thursdays. So I kind of suspect that we'll have that again this Thursday, although there hasn't been an email sent out. But, last week we got a chance to meet the new running backs coach, E.J. Barthel, and the new secondary coach, Evan Cooper. And both of those guys just really very, very cool guys, in my opinion. They came off very well. And, it's kind of a theme we're seeing here. It's a very, very young coaching staff, very enthusiastic guys. And when I say very, very young, these guys all are, 10 years deep with coaching experience. But they're not that much older than the kids that they're recruiting right now. That's a big deal. They can really connect with these kids, and I couldn't be more impressed with any of these new coaches that we've met so far. And, I'm excited to see who we get this week. And you can go to our channel. You can go to our Husker Online YouTube channel, and you can watch all those in their entirety for free. So, if you haven't seen those, get on over there and watch them.
E.J. Barthel. Just trying to look up his background in regards to.
He was at Connecticut under Jim Mora last year. All these guys have either played or coached for Matt Rhule. So okay. It's a big thing with that. Matt Rhule loves to hire guys that he brought up, and they are a tight, very tight unit. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, so he was at Temple when Rhule was there as director of player personnel at Temple.
Yep.
Then went to the Carolina Panthers.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Worked with the running backs, the offensive line, and pro personnel department.
Yep. Then went to UConn.
Okay. So
the funny thing is too that that like we talked about last week, after Marcus Satterfield had brought back the fullback, that obviously when EJ Barthel was up there at the podium last Thursday here, that one of the questions was that about how excited Husker fans were to bring back the fullback, and lo and behold, EJ Barthel's like, I played fullback. So, he played fullback in college, and, he's made a really good career out of coaching running backs here so far in his early life. So I think that fits in great. And, he knows all the Nebraska traditions, and, he couldn't stop talking about RBU, about how successful Nebraska's always been about running the football, and he brought up all the old names, that you think about when you think about great running backs that Nebraska produced. So all these guys very familiar with Nebraska coming in. So it's pretty nice to see, and nice to see how they embrace the traditions here, and they know what works here.
I heard something out of Greg McElroy the other day. This wasn't anything new. It was a clip that he posted after Matt Rhule was announced as the head coach, that Matt Rhule initially turned down Nebraska. Is that out there in the open? Is that pretty common knowledge? And then they came back and impressed him the second go around?
Yeah, that he addressed that in his opening press conference when he was hired. That Trev Alberts had reached out to him, and he wasn't quite ready to. He didn't want to make a decision on what he wanted to do, and I think he had actually had said that his son was the deciding factor. His son had said that you need to get back into coaching, and I think Nebraska is perfect for you, Dad. And I think that's what really turned his mind onto that. Yeah, this is what I need to do. But he did mention that he's admitted to that.
William in the chat's mentioning about notifications. So we don't always have control over the notifications, but here's the best thing you can do is make sure you're subscribed here and turn on the bell for the notifications to know when we go live. And then it's all in YouTube's hands in regards to getting those notifications out. But we do what we can here. I post a daily live schedule on the main channel on the community page each and every day. So that's there as well. All right.
We're usually here the same time, though.
Yes, exactly. There's not a whole lot of guessing when it comes to us for the Nebraska show. So Greg's been great about being here each and every Tuesday. And that's 90% of the time. We've never missed. If we just have to switch up and do it at another time, then that's when you got to.
We never leave you hanging for a week.
That's when you just have to keep up with it. Absolutely.
That's when you need to send the notifications out.
Yes. Speaking of which, we may be in that situation next week, but
ooh. See, now I hear about it at the same time as everybody.
Your timing was perfect.
Okay then.
Yes, Douglas says it's every Tuesday at 6 Central like clockwork. The other thing I've done is I've joined about 7 Nebraska Facebook groups to try to bring in some extra folks. So if any of you out there, whether you're listening live or you're going to be watching us on record, if you belong to Nebraska Facebook groups, please let them know that we are here and encourage those folks to get on over here and join the fun. What's going on there at Husker Online?
Getting after it, like always, brother.
That's what I figured.
No, I mean, you always got Steve Sipple's columns that the most read out of all Husker fans, and Sean does his thing, and it's all wall-to-wall recruiting pretty much right now, and NIL here until signing day ends up, and I think we're already slated. I think Sean, he said February 5th that Sean and I have to go on our in-state tour. So we'll have all the high school top athletes come to us and sit down with them all and do our annual in-state tour coverage, and that leads you right up to spring ball. So camps are starting up. Like I said, we had the Warren Showcase camp here on Sunday, and so we got videos of that up and interviews, and heck, basketball is hard and heavy right now, so a lot going on. Always something to be breaking news on and covering. So if you're not a subscriber of Husker Online, how dare you? Get on over there and sign up. There's always a deal on there. I'm not sure what it is now. It's $29.99 for 3 years or something. I don't know. You have to go look.
Sounds like pennies per day.
Yep. Well, it's never going to be more than anybody else. So
very good.
And you take advantage of whatever deals are out there. Take advantage of it.
All right. Well, folks, I think we've come to the end of the line for another week here at the Voice of College Football. And again, we may need to make some different arrangements next week, but we're here every week, usually Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 Central. So make it on back and bring some folks with you. We want to grow the show and build the audience. So you are a better way of doing that than certainly we are. You've got your social media connections and the folks that you interact with on a daily basis. So please let them know that we're here talking Nebraska football with all of you. We don't have a show. We don't have a channel probably without Greg. So Greg, we appreciate it.
Go Big Red.
We'll see everybody next week.